Good evening. My name is Marie Brady. I am the project manager for the Carlotta Shoulder Widening. It's a safety project. And the reason why I'm using a microphone is because we also have people who are tying into our meeting during using WebEx. So that's a virtual environment. So we are doing our second hybrid meeting here in Humboldt on Highway 36. This has been in development. So basically I'm going to start, and so I'm a little technologically challenged. So if you'd like to, what we're going to do first is present what our proposed design is and what studies we've done to this point. Sure, I can speak as loud as you want to. I am very loud. Can you hear me? Sure. Okay. My name is Marie Brady. I am the project manager here here at Caltrans. The reason why I'm using this microphone is to speak to people in the virtual environment. So I'm going to have to use my outdoor voice. So if you can't hear me, let me know. I can project pretty hard. This is our second hybrid meeting here on HUM 36. We are presenting a safety project that's been in development for a few years. Right now, we are in the middle of the environmental document phase. And so I just want to let you guys know, please come on in, that we are recording right now. So there's a lot of information that we are presenting. We understand there's a lot of technical stuff. So what we're doing is we have a question and answer period after our presentation from the various members of our team. And if you still have questions, our comment period will extend till October 24th. We are going to post this recording on our project website. So if you'd like to come back and look at it again, that will be available at your leisure. So if you can put the next slide. Okay. We have some housekeeping items first. I think that's one of the slides. Oh, and that includes that if you're in virtual land, during the question and answer period, if you'd like to be acknowledged or have your hand, please raise it with the raise hand feature. Now, if you actually have questions and you are here in Carlotta, we actually have a microphone, which if you'd like to speak into it, then the other people in the virtual world can hear you, and then we'll be able to answer your questions. So one of the things that we are doing here in Caltrans is we have what we call Title VI. And so basically, it's Caltrans ensures that no person in the state of California is excluded with participation in, denied the benefits of, or otherwise subjected to discrimination in Caltrans programs, policies, procedures, activities, and services on the grounds of race, color, national origin, sex, age, or disability. So this is an optional thing. If you can advance the slide. If you want to use a QR code, there's actually a survey. This is purely optional. We also have surveys over there, and this is for statistical purposes. The reason why we do this is because the federal government requires us to actually ask for volunteers. So our funding for our highway projects is dependent to make sure that we are serving our communities. And this is one way we can do that. So you can ask some demographic issues and statistics so we can actually get funding, and we can hopefully improve our community much better. So here, if you can do the next slide, please. So here we are. Again, my name's Marie Brady. I'm the project manager. I'd like to introduce Desiree Edgar. She's right here running the projector. She is our project engineer, our lead designer. We have Carrie Williams. You will see her later during the presentation. She's our lead environmental coordinator. Then the next person is Miles Cochran. He is our public information officer for this corridor. He is available to you for any questions on highway projects in this area. You can contact him by phone, the internet, and he is here in the virtual world. You can see him a little later. And he is your chief point of contact for any issues regarding Caltrans, not just this project, but anything Caltrans related. He is your main contact. And I'd also like to introduce Brian Simon. He is the design branch chief, and he is here to help support Desiree and answer any questions we have. So if you can advance the slide, it's the project locations. Here we are. And then keep going. So this is a top-down view of... If you are on WebEx, and can you please mute yourself, because it is kind of hard with the feedback, and we are doing a live recording. So if you don't want to be heard in perpetuity, I would recommend that you mute yourself. So I will continue on. Thank you very much. This is a top-down picture. We'll look at this more in detail of the project location. As you can see, we are starting our improvements here at Post Mile 3.9, which is around Fisher Road, and ending around 6.0. And you can see there's the post office to kind of, get yourself a little bit oriented to where we're actually doing some studies. If you can move on. Now, this project was initiated as a response to a traffic investigation report that was sent by headquarters in Sacramento, Caltrans, and we monitor all roads through the state of California. This segment of highway was identified as having a higher rate of collisions than the statewide average. And so this came up, flagged our report, and we go to our traffic safety folks here in Eureka, and we go out and investigate this. So this was an investigation report. The purpose of our project is to reduce the frequency and severity of collisions. This is more of a proactive approach. Historically, Caltrans has been in the safety world a little bit more reactive, but we are looking at things and projecting what we think will happen. So we are trying to save lives and go to zero fatalities with our mission. Right now, our program construction cost for all what we present is about $16 million. If you can please go ahead. So this is where we're at. We are in September of 2022. We are at somewhere kind of almost at the midpoint of our studies. So we have some preliminary concepts of design, what we want to do to make this corridor safer. We are looking at having to do the required environmental studies. So we're there. And we are here to present our concept to the community because we are members and you live, and we want to make sure that we hear your voice and get your comments. We basically modify our designs a lot of times based on what a community comment is, because you know best, because you are the users of the facility. And our end of our environmental phase for the complete final document and final project report, which is where we decide this is what we're going to do, is going to be next spring, as you can see, in 2023. We hope to start construction in summer of 2024, and it's going to be a 2-season job ending December 2026. And most of it's going to be your standard construction. We will go through that a little bit. Right now, it's still in the development phase. If you can move to the next slide. Okay. Well, I'd like to introduce Brian Simon, who's our branch chief. What we're going to do is have him and Desiree do the presentation on what the design elements are, and then we'll go to the next folks. So thank you. I will turn it over to you.
Thanks, Marie. Can you guys hear me okay? Can you hear Marie speak over here? We can move the chairs closer if you guys want to get closer. Desiree's going to be doing some more speaking as well, doing kind of an overview of the project. But I just wanted to say that I wanted to welcome you all to the meeting tonight. It's been a while since we've been out, and it's been a while since we've been out in the public, and and that's due to the pandemic. And I've always appreciated going out and meeting the folks that we serve. This is your home, and you're more familiar with the issues that are out here, and we want to do the best that we can, and your input is important to what we do. So please speak freely, provide comments, and we have an open mind. We want to be here to take your input. As Marie introduced, I'm Brian Simon. I'm the branch chief of the design squad that Desiree works in. Desiree is the project engineer at this time, and she's doing an outstanding job, and I'm very proud of the work that she's been doing up to this point. But I do just want to again thank you all for coming out tonight, and I'm looking forward to presenting this information to you and finding out what your thoughts are on what we propose here today. So thank you again.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Desiree, and I'm going to stay seated here because I'm the person that's going to be clicking through the slides here. So I apologize for not standing up. I just wanted to also welcome everybody here. Thank you for attending. I'm going to first be going over the proposed improvements that we're going to be doing, where this preliminary design improvements will be occurring at, as well as Ward Creek Bridge crossing, and the reconstruction strategy, and then I will my part of the presentation with talking about the general right-of-way process that will occur. The first portion of this presentation, I will go over the safety features. As you can see, there's many features that we're going to be doing. And the first one I'll discuss is the shoulder widening. We're going to widen to 6 feet at most locations on the shoulders throughout the project. There'll be 2 minor realignments that will be occurring, and I will discuss them further in the presentation. We'll be doing a westbound passing and climbing lane extension of approximately over 2,000 feet from what is existing. The new location of where that passing lane will be just after Yager Creek Bridge as you're heading westbound. We will be putting in a eastbound turnout between Creekside Lane and Monroe Lane. That'll allow for an opportunity for slower traffic to pull over and the faster traffic to pass safely. We will be doing shoulder and median rumble strips. We'll be using a type called sinusoidal. This type of rumble strip is quieter on the outside, but still remains loud on the inside to alert the driver, as well as we will not be putting rumble strip within 500 feet of any residence to ensure that it doesn't disturb those that are nearby. We will be upgrading our metal beam guardrail to meet standards. In addition, we'll have a few segments that we'll be adding along Barber Creek, the westbound passing lane, and Wilson Creek. And the last feature that is on the left side here of this slide is the existing radar feedback sign will be relocated to a little bit sooner. So instead of before Monroe Lane, instead of after Monroe Lane, it'll then be before Monroe Lane, allowing for increased visibility and a little bit more response time for drivers to slow down as they head into that residential area that's directly adjacent to the Highway 36. I'm now going to move into some of these other features which do cross over as safety as well. The first is we're going to be replacing the culvert at Ward Creek, and we'll be putting in a new bridge. This will have a dual benefit of restoring the stream at this location as well. We'll be performing a final overlay of the roadway. We'll be upgrading a couple culverts in size, as well as extending some culverts in the area due to the widening. And we will be providing new striping, delineators, and markers. We'll be using the thermoplastic striping, which will all have increased visibility during nighttime. And lastly, we will have a final signage package, which we will be replacing signs and relocating signs as where the widening is occurring. Here's just a general proposed configuration. Not all of these features that you see here are going to be at all locations throughout the project, but just to kind of highlight the features I just discussed. If you have questions, can you note them? And then we can get back to you at the end of the presentation. Does that sound good? Okay, thank you. We will be doing the 6 feet shoulders. We'll have 12 feet driving lanes, the upgrading of the metal beam guardrail, and where the rumble strips will be located at. Here's an overview of the map, but instead it's now divided into 8 sheets. I'm going to go fairly quickly through each of these 8 sheets on the upcoming slides. These sheets will show the preliminary proposed design, safety features such as widening, overlay, guardrail, rumble strip locations, and which are all going to be subject to change as design, fine tunes our proposed design that we have here. Please note which sheets numbers you may be interested in, as these slides will be available to look at during questioning and answering part of our presentation. Here we are on sheet 1, and I just want to note the legend that you're seeing on the left. There are going to be 5 features that will kind of pop up on the screen. It won't be super noticeable, but I'll try to go slow enough for you guys to see it as it goes through. The widening will be more of a thin blue area. You'll have a gray area that will pop up that will show where we're overlaying, and then where the 2 locations of realignments are throughout in this project, where rumble strip is and where guardrail upgrades or new proposed segments will be. Here we're going to start off with the widening area, the overlay, and guardrail. Now we are on to sheet 2. I got a spinny wheel. Hold on. There we go. It worked. Overlay, the beginning part of the first of realignment area, proposed rumble strip, guardrail, the beginning of the passing lane, but this is also the end of the passing lane depending on how you want to view this, but for presentation purposes, I'm going to call it the beginning of the passing lane since I will be going backwards from here. And where the Ward Creek Bridge is being proposed. Now we're on to sheet 3. It's thinking. There we go. Overlay. The rest of that realignment, the first one. Rumble strip. Now we are on to sheet 4. Widening. Overlay. Rumble strip. And the end of the passing lane. Sheet 5. Widening areas. Overlay. Guardrail. Sheet 6. It doesn't like my widening every time here. Sorry, guys. Widening. Overlay. Rumble strip. Sheet 7. Working on the widening here. Overlay. Where the second realignment will be occurring. Rumble strip. And the eastbound turnout. Sheet 8. Widening. Overlay. The rest of the realignment area. Rumble strip. And where the radar feedback sign will be relocated. Next, I'm moving on to the Ward Creek crossing to discuss this briefly. The top pictures you see here are the existing conditions, heading towards Hydesville there. In the culvert below the roadway at Ward Creek. The creek will be restored, and in the environmental portion of this presentation, we'll be discussing this restoration work at a little bit more detail. The 6-foot-tall elliptical corrugated steel pipe will be replaced with a pile-driven single-span concrete bridge with a vehicle and bicycle steel railing. The bottom photos are examples of how the bridge may look when finished. The railing will be attached to a decorative transition end block, which will be similar to what is being shown here. I'm now going to discuss our reconstruction strategy and starting with the 2 minor realignments. The first realignment will be occurring at Ward Creek curve, which is the curve just east heading towards Carlotta from Fisher Road intersection. This was shown on sheets 2 and 3. This area will be reconstructed fully. Center line will be shifted slightly to the north. Curve radius and the super elevation or the cross slope will be improved from the existing conditions. The new profile of the roadway will be adjusted to accommodate the new single-span bridge at Ward Creek. The second realignment is occurring on sheets 7 and 8, the existing compound curve will be removed and a center line will be shifted slightly to the south. This portion of the roadway will not be reconstructed, but rather widened as necessary and paved to match existing cross slopes of the roadway. The next part I'm going to discuss is our pavement and our construction strategy. The overall pavement strategy will consist of widening. We'll saw cut along the existing edge of pavement and widen with the new structural materials. We'll do pavement repairs as needed. We'll also cold plane where areas need to conform into the existing pavements and as needed to maintain the existing cross slopes. And lastly, we'll do an edge-to-edge overlay, which will include the newly widened area. And this overlay will maintain the integrity of the existing roadway and provide a refreshed surface or product ready for the new striping to be laid down. The overall construction strategy will begin in August of 2024. Ward Creek Bridge will be built with half-width construction and will be utilizing a portable traffic signal to do that. The rest of the work will be a combination of one-way traffic control, shoulder closures, and moving lane closures. And there is no anticipated long-term closures for this project. And now I'm going to my part of the presentation off with the general right-of-way process that will be occurring. First, I'll go over the deeds and maps and the differences between the two of them. Maps are going to be what shows the land and the improvements, and the deeds are the legal descriptions that go along with that. Appraisals will ensure that those lands that are acquired are done so at fair market value. An acquisition branch gets involved to ensure timely securing of property rights of project while also adhering to the Uniform Relocation Assistant and Real Property Acquisition Policies Act. There will be utility relocations in this job as they are in conflict with the widening that is occurring. We do also have Greta from Right Away here available to answer any general questions you may have on this process. Next, we are going to move on to our environmental planner coordinator, who's going to present the environmental portion of this presentation.
Hi, everyone. I'm Carrie Williams, and I am the environmental coordinator and planner for this project. I am presenting from Eureka tonight, and I just wanted to say thank you again for attending this evening. I'll share a summary of the environmental review process for this project. Next slide, please. I'd like to take a moment to explain how environmental review is woven throughout the life of a Caltrans project, from the initiation of the project, this red box here in the upper right, all the way through the end of the road to construction. The green sign shows that we're currently in the environmental review phase of the project. We have completed the environmental studies that we needed to evaluate the project's impact on the environment, and we have prepared a draft environmental document. We've circulated that draft environmental document for public comment. The public comment period will end on October 24th. At that point, we will review the comments that were received, along with any additional information that we learn, and we'll prepare a final environmental document. We anticipate that the final environmental document will be approved in April of 2023. After that, the project could move on to other phases and ultimately construction. Environmental involvement continues during construction, where we will monitor construction activities for compliance with the environmental measures that are a part of the project. Caltrans is required to comply with all state and federal environmental laws, regulations, and policies. The two that are most relevant to this stage of the environmental process are CEQA, the state level act, and NEPA, the federal level act. Under state law, the type of document prepared for this project is an initial study and proposed mitigated negative declaration. It's a lot of acronyms. The draft of this document is what has recently circulated, and that's what we'd like your comments on. Under federal law, the project qualifies for a categorical exclusion. The environmental review process for the Carlotta Shoulder Widening Project has found that the project would have no significant impacts on the environment. Mitigation would be required for minor impacts to wetlands. Caltrans anticipates applying for permits and approvals for this project from our partner state and federal agencies, such as the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the National Marine Fisheries Service, the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and the North Coast Water Board. This list identifies subject areas of potential environmental impacts that we must evaluate during the environmental review process. Of the 20, Caltrans has determined that the project will have no impact on 15 of them, here on the left side of the slide. We have also determined that the project will have a less than significant impact on 4 of these areas, here in the upper right. And those 4 categories are aesthetics, agriculture and forest resources, greenhouse gas emissions, hydrology, and water quality. One topic will require mitigation, and that is biological resources. As stated previously, the project will have no significant impacts on any environmental resources. The scope of the project is to improve safety of the existing infrastructure, which is already a disturbed transportation environment. Caltrans uses standard measures and best management practices that we incorporate into our projects in order to minimize impacts or avoid them altogether. The full analysis for these determinations is contained in the DED, the draft environmental document, which is posted on the Carlotta Shoulder Widening Project website. So the first environmental topic I'd like to discuss with you, well, I should say that I'm going to go through those top 5 that we determined we would have some impacts to. So the first one that I'll discuss is the aesthetics portion, which are the visual changes you might notice. Throughout the project corridor, the visual changes that roadway users would notice would be the widened shoulders with fresh pavement, as well as new guardrail and the eastbound maintenance turnout near Monroe Lane. Additionally, the new Ward Creek Bridge would be a change from the existing roadway, where many of us probably don't even notice the 6-foot by 10-foot culvert that we're driving over at Ward Creek. The new bridge would be really pretty. This is an artist rendering of what it might look like. The new bridge would have aesthetic treatments to look like other bridges in the area. We expect that 2 mid-sized redwood trees would be removed on the northwest corner of the Ward Creek crossing to make room for the new bridge abutments. All of the removed trees would be replanted on site. Additionally, approximately 5 black cottonwood trees would be removed towards the east end of the project near Monroe Lane to make room for the curb improvement and the widened shoulder. The next topic I'd like to discuss is agricultural land. Caltrans completed prime farmland consultations with the County of Humboldt and the U.S. Department of Agriculture. We reviewed this map on the slide that shows where farmland of statewide importance and prime farmland are located within the project boundaries. Both agencies agreed that there would be no significant impact to prime farmland or farmland of statewide importance as a result of the proposed project. The narrow slivers of land that you saw on Desiree's slides in blue that are proposed for acquisition to build the widened shoulders are mostly areas that are zoned and designated as agricultural, but not actively farmed. None of this land is under the Williamson Act contract. We'll move on to the biological impacts anticipated from this project. The majority of the 2.1-mile project proposal would have minimal biological impacts. A small wetland on the northeast corner of Ward Creek, which is approximately 1/10 of an acre, would be impacted by building the new bridge. Mitigation credits would be purchased from the 2020 Fen Co-op agreement, which would protect a portion of very special nearby fen bog wetland in perpetuity. If Caltrans determines that the riparian vegetation and state waters would be impacted beyond what could be offset on site, there is an additional opportunity to remove an old bridge about 100 feet downstream of the current Highway 36 alignment on Ward Creek. This picture is of the old bridge. This bridge was part of a previous Route 36 alignment, and it was abandoned prior to 1970 on private property. Due to frequent trespassing, graffiti, garbage dumping, and other activities at this location, there would be multiple benefits to its removal, including offsetting any impacts to riparian vegetation or waters. Creek restoration needs would be evaluated by restoration experts, but may include stream grading, riparian plantings, and adding portions of the cut redwoods as large woody debris for in-stream habitat. In addition to the trees already discussed that would likely be removed, an additional large redwood that's approximately 8 feet in diameter is growing adjacent to the Old Ward Creek Bridge, just off screen here to the left. If this large redwood would be impacted by the old bridge removal, then that portion of the old bridge abutment would stay buried to avoid impacts to the old growth tree. We'd also like to discuss the benefits to wildlife that we expect from this project. The existing culvert was identified as a fish passage barrier, so building a full span bridge over Ward Creek would provide a solution to the fish passage issue. This culvert, while hidden from view to most drivers, is a highway itself for critters in the area. Our biologists set up game cameras at the culvert for the last few seasons, and we caught many species using it to pass under the road. So far, we've seen a bobcat, a wood rat, a skunk, and more to come. According to the timestamps, predators and prey pass within minutes of each other. Some sort of small mammal, an adorable family of raccoons. The new bridge would provide a less confined space for skittish wildlife to cross underneath the road, which would hopefully reduce the risk of vehicle collisions with wildlife. Next slide, please. Finally, the last two subject areas that Caltrans addressed in depth in our environmental document are greenhouse gas emissions and hydrology and water quality. This project would not produce a permanent or ongoing increase in greenhouse gas emissions because the project would not add vehicle capacity or induce growth to the area. New sources of greenhouse gas emissions would be from construction only. Hydrology in the area may be altered slightly due to the increased pavement areas, which would increase impermeable surface in the area from the widened shoulders. To offset this, Caltrans plans to build bioswales that would filter the roadway runoff before stormwater made it into the nearby drainages. Due to this and to Caltrans standard measures and best management practices, we do not expect water quality in the area to be impacted. Next slide, please. If you'd like more information on this environmental document, or if you'd like to make a public comment, you have a couple of options. You can submit them in writing by emailing them to the district office. The address should be available at the meeting, or you can find the address online. Comments are due to me by October 24th of 2022. You can also email your comments to this email address. We recommend that you go ahead and visit the project webpage for project details and access to the environmental document. The recording of this presentation will also be posted to the website. You can access the draft environmental document as a PDF from this website, or you can also look at a paper copy of the document in person at the Fortuna Library or at the District 1 Caltrans headquarters in Eureka. Or you can contact me if you have questions on how to access it or questions about submitting comments.